So this is Allison, and she works as a senior living advisor, but she worked as a doctor of audiology for over 20 years, and she's going to share a little bit about that subject and how it relates to our world of taking care of older adults.
Thank you, Joseph. So I think when I changed careers from practicing audiology, which is a hearing specialist, I specialized in working with older adults who have hearing loss, oftentimes fitting hearing aids to help them hear better. I guess I didn't realize how much that would play into what I'm doing now as a senior living advisor. I think oftentimes the symptoms of, especially with how hearing loss relates to dementia, the symptoms can be quite similar. So I told Joe I think it's easiest for me to kind of show it in a story. I remember one of my it probably was my very first job out of graduate school. I had a patient that I'll never forget. His name was Ziegfeld, and he went by Ziggy. And he came in with his wife, and he was really kind of hunched over in his wheelchair, and he didn't say a lot. And I attributed so much of it to maybe the language difference. His wife told me that he had dementia, and he had a lot of difficulty understanding and remembering. But there just was very little interaction between him and his wife, between myself and Ziggy when we were doing the hearing test. Well, we test him, we find out he has hearing loss, we order hearing aids. I fit him at that appointment, and there was a complete change in his behavior. He straightened up, he smiled, he made eye contact, he started to joke. And the interaction I had with him after he could hear, being fit with proper hearing aids from before, was so dramatic. It was emotional, his wife, it was so exciting for the two of them to re-engage. And I think even in the medical professions, doctors, physicians don't always realize how much the symptoms of hearing loss and dementia can overlap. So for years, his wife was told that he was losing his memory and that he had dementia, and he may have had mild dementia or mild cognitive impairment, but it was made so much worse by his hearing loss. So one of the main things, you know, hearing loss causes an inability to understand and participate in conversation. Well, that's how we connect with people. That's how we talk to our loved ones, our friends. I mean, everything we do in this world that connects us to people involves communication. And when you can't do that because of a hearing loss, and it gets so hard to understand what someone's saying, it gets impossible to hear things in background noise. It's difficult to understand when multiple people are talking at once. You just kind of start to close off. You shut down. You become more isolated. You're not as willing to go out and do things because it could be embarrassing to not be able to hear. I've had people tell me over and over with hearing loss and with dementia that my world got smaller because I just wasn't comfortable doing the same things I did before. So I think more and more I just become so interested in how the two actually, how connected they are.
Yeah, I mean, that's fascinating to me that someone could have hearing loss and their own spouse and people who care about him or her can think it's dementia.
Absolutely.
That's fascinating. And here's my weird question. Roughly, I mean, I know you can't say percentage, but roughly what % of people just don't want to get the test, and then after they're fitted, just won't even wear it?
Yeah, I think the stigma is going away. So when I first started practicing audiology 20 years ago, family physicians, PCPs, were trained to they just often told people it's just part of normal aging. Having hearing loss, oh, it's just part of getting old. It's just part of normal aging. So I think as professionals and like our audiology organizations have done such a good job at getting information out about hearing loss, I don't hear physicians doing that anymore. You know,
just to clarify, they're saying live with hearing loss.
Live with hearing loss.
Okay, that's shocking.
Live with hearing loss.
That's shocking.
It's a normal part of aging.
But thank God that's changed.
That's changed.
Okay,
that has changed a lot. And I think the stigma of wearing hearing aids has changed a lot because we see things on everybody's ears. People are all wearing Bluetooth devices, AirPods, and now hearing aids are so small. They're kind of cool looking. They can be paired to phones and have Bluetooth technology.
So this is going to sound like this is ageism, so don't hold this against me. But older adults felt the stigma and didn't want to wear them and be seen with them.
Absolutely.
Okay, sorry if that sounded bad.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah. No. Okay. Nobody wants to show really. Sign that they have some limitation or disability. Right. I think that's common with anything. And you know, people would always say to me though, well, if I have difficulty walking and I'm using a cane or a walker, people see that and they help me, they hold a door, they, you know, will help me do certain things. Hearing loss people can't see that, so they just assume you're not listening, they maybe assume you're not smart, that you're not understanding, so I think people just wanted to avoid that stigma. But again, hearing aids are so accepted now because we're used to seeing, and I think kids don't think anything about it. Every kid is wearing something on their ears now, so we don't think about it as much.
My daughter has been wearing a hearing aid ever since she was a child.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Oh, so here's my question.
Yeah.
When an older adult knows that the fitted hearing aid improves their hearing, are we still seeing that they won't wear it?
Not as much. And
for all the things you talked about.
Yes,
all the
and I
think
the reason is because the technology has come so far that they see such benefit in wearing it. Yes. I feel like when I first started, what we kind of marketed hearing aids could do and what they actually could do weren't necessarily even.
Okay, got it.
Now the technology, I mean with everything, it's come so far. They do help in background noise, they do help in groups, they do help with TV. You can stream your phone calls directly through your hearing aids.
That's good.
And I think another really interesting thing about hearing loss and dementia that's being researched a lot right now is that studies are showing that hearing loss is actually linked to dementia. Folks who have hearing loss that's left untreated, so that means wearing hearing aids, that's how we treat a hearing loss. We can't make an inner ear, what's called sensory neural hearing loss, go away. There's no cure for it, but you can treat it by wearing hearing aids. They're finding that folks that have hearing loss that never have it treated and continue to live life with hearing loss are more likely to develop dementia.
That's a great point. This might sound like a weird tangent, but those professional basketball players and athletes, when they sprain an ankle, their knee goes bad. Like it's all connected.
It is all connected. Right. It's all neural stimulation. Any audiologist will tell you we hear with our brain, we don't hear with our ears. So, but when the ears aren't functioning normally, the brain is not being stimulated like it should be. And so much of what we're finding are triggers for dementia and early onset dementia have to do with things that deprive our brain of stimulation. And another one is social interaction. Again, going back to what I was talking about before, if hearing loss leads to people living more in isolation, both of those things have a really negative impact on our cognitive health, which as we know from all our dementia care study, education that we get, can, cause us to be more likely for dementia.
So the strong message and moral for today is for yourself and for your loved ones, get tested.
Get a hearing test. It's one of the easiest tests you can do.
And when you're fitted, wear it.
Wear hearing aids if you have a hearing loss.
Yes.
Or at least consider it. At least just get the education to start.
That's good.
And protect your ears from noise. There is only one thing we can do to prevent there's only one preventable type of hearing loss, and that's noise-induced hearing loss, being around really, really loud sound. When you wear hearing protection, protect your ears. They're so important.
So when you go to a rock concert, wear your earbuds or something.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
That's good.
If you leave a concert and you have ringing in your ears, which many people do after being around loud sound, that's trauma. You've traumatized your ears. That's a form of damage, and it usually comes back. It gets some time to recovery, and that function usually comes back, but not always. So protect your ears, get a hearing test.
Gotcha. This is really helpful, really, really helpful.
Good. Thank you for having me. You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing.